Peace. Welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot of things to talk about. First and foremost, let's talk about what President Biden just did earlier today as he signs a major bill for the funding of Ukraine, Israel, and the sale of TikTok, possibly, where the United States may be one of the biggest countries to put a ban on the social media app. All right, we'll talk a little bit about that. Also, we're going to be checking in with former OBGYN and now lifestyle brand founder Jeannie Jacobs to talk about it's never too late to make a big pivot in your life. What does that mean and how you could possibly gain from the pivot? Also, we'll be checking in with my sister Tasha Love today as we talk to her about a number of things happening, from our diss tracks really good for the culture to this latest allegation about Meg The Stallion sexual harassing, accused of being of sexually harassing a cameraman. Wow. We'll talk a little bit about that with Tasha Love today, so I'm really excited. So stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture. Crew, get ready to join us in the conversation. And of course, stay tuned. It's The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, it is Wednesday, April the 24th. Wow, we're at the end of the week almost. Well, we're at hump day. And so I'm very, very excited about the conversations that we're going to be having with you today. Now, first and foremost, we got to let you know we are streaming on a number of various platforms. But check out our home platform, first and foremost, blackstarnetwork.com. Make sure you go to the website today, download the app for free on all of your devices, and we ask you to also follow us on social media at Black Star Network, and we ask you to put a little something in the pot as we power our way through this digital space. So your support is definitely appreciated. Just go to our website again today at blackstarnetwork.com. And for all of you who have supported as of this thus far, let me get my words together. Thus far, we thank you for your support. And if you're thinking about supporting, well, just stick around, be a part of the conversations. And I feel pretty confident that you're going to want to support us. So make sure you do your due diligence there. And we thank you. Also, folks, we are streaming on various Amazon platforms. So make sure you check us out on Amazon News and your Fire TV. Also, you can check us out on Prime Video, on Amazon Prime Video. Just find us on the Prime Video app under Live TV, The News, or find us on Amazon.com under Prime Video, then Live TV, The News. We're also on the Freevee Network, so you can find us On Now under News for the Freevee Network, and Plex TV, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just search for Black Star Network, or find us on the Live TV News and Opinion. All right, let me jump in here, see who's in the chat today. Big shout out to the online culture crew, as always, because you guys make the show so much better. It's not just about me, folks. It's about you. It's about us, because we are the culture. And I cannot thank you all enough for your support and just tuning in each and every day. So let's see who's in the chat right now. I'm on the YouTube chat, and you can find us on Big Brother Roland Martin's YouTube channel chat, as well as on his Facebook page, as well as on the X platform. So big shout out to all of those who are gathering in those spaces to watch the show. We cannot thank you enough. So thank you. I see you, Lori Parks. I see you, Brother Damon. Thank you so much for checking in. I see you, Francesca Epps. I see you, Pauline Hurt, the Stephanie Humphrey channel. I see you, ABX Girl. I see you. Tiana, I see you. Who else we got in here? Mark Spinks. Mark checking in from the great state of New York. Thank you so much, Mark. Official Sanika, I see you, brother. Oh, man. Love the fist, brothers, and love the fist, and, of course, the hearts, man. Thank you so much. Who else we got in here? Let me see. Who else we got in here? Oh, man, we got some new faces in here, some new voices. Vanzola Carter. Good afternoon to you, Vanzola. Thank you so much for checking in. Always a pleasure. Edith Critchlow. Edith, I see you. Thank you for the fire emojis and the hearts. Thank you. Can we get them a little horn? Let's give them some of that horn. I like to hear that horn. There we go. I like to hear that horn for the culture crew. All right, folks, let's do this. Let me just throw this out there. First, we're going to have this conversation, and this is simply your reactions to what we have been seeing right now. This is, you're going to be hearing much more about this. Make sure y'all tune in at 6 p.m. at Roland Martin Unfiltered as he does his work, probably breaking down what we're seeing, what happened in Washington today with the president signing this major, major bill. But I wanted to kind of key in, I wanted to bring it to our attention, and then we can kind of key in on certain elements of this monumental funding package. And I want to get your take on it. So make sure y'all get ready to join us in the conversation, post your thoughts. So here's the thing, folks. This is the president signed a major, major foreign aid and TikTok divest or ban provision in a 79 through versus 18 vote. This is a big bill, $95 billion package. $95 billion. It's officially been signed into law by President Biden, and it provides critical aid to Ukraine, and it could enact a provision that could lead, according to the reports, that could lead to a nationwide ban on TikTok. Now, what the president said about this whole thing, he said that this particular bill, because it not only provides Ukraine aid, it also provides the state of Israel with funding and making sure that our presence is felt in that part of the world. And the president said, quote, is going to make America safer. It's going to make the world safer. And it continues America's leadership in the world. And everyone knows give vital support to America's partners. And so they can defend themselves against threats to their sovereignty. So I want to take a quick pause. When we come forward, I want to hear what you got to say about this as the president signs into law a $95 billion package. We'll break it down a little bit more for you. And I want to talk, you know, we can the Ukraine funding, Ukraine aid, Israel funding, that's pretty much, I mean, it's a done deal, as they say. But this TikTok piece, I know y'all be like, he said Ukraine and there, but TikTok, yes, but TikTok might be, this is going to be a controversy. So we're going to talk a little bit about TikTok, and I want to get your take on it, your reactions, crew, to what the president has done today. Just simply share, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about this funding, this aid, and of course, this potential sale, divest or ban provision for TikTok? Stay with us. The conversation continues with you here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. It is Hump Day, and we are talking about what the president has done in terms of that major, major foreign aid package that he just signed into law this morning. $95 billion, folks, from, it's like... Can we say it's like a love offering from America to the rest of the world? Yes, it is, folks. $95 billion. Most of the money, of course, is going to aid for for the Ukraine defense. There's also some money going to funding Israel. There is about $1 billion that the foreign aid package will include or has included of additional humanitarian assistance to the people of Gaza, which the president said would allow the U.S. to send food, medical supplies, and clean water to the region. So that is a part of this package as well. The president said that he would have liked to have include border security, but he said he'll come back to that in another moment at another time. And so we're looking at that. The package included $60 billion in aid to Ukraine that President Vladimir Zelensky said would give his country a chance at victory against Russia. It also includes $26 billion in assistance to Israel and humanitarian relief in Gaza, in addition to $8 billion for security in Taiwan and the Indo-Pacific. Yeah. So that's how it's broken down, folks. You're talking about billions of dollars that have been set aside, signed, sealed, and will be delivered to all of those who need America's help. Crew, I want to get your take. Let's go to what you got to say, because I know many of you are checking in from around the country, and I would love to see it. Yes, Lydia Mathis, it's a love offering. Lydia, I don't know how else to describe it. Is it not a love offering? Is that? It's a love offering to like a few countries, billions of dollars. I didn't know Americans had. We have such a big heart. Such a big heart. Yeah, it's a love offering. J3, you checked in. You said everyone gets reparations but us. Well, this is not necessarily reparations. A lot of this stuff is going to be, in the case of Ukraine, $60 billion. There, you're talking about military aid. So it's not necessarily reparations. And I think it's important. I hear what you're saying. Trust me, J3, I hear you. But I do think it's important that we don't conflate and just throw out terms like that, because it will confuse people. That reparations, no, it's not reparations. It's military aid. It's a very different thing for a different part. Leona Brown, you said, I didn't know we had that kind of money. I guess America didn't know either. $95 billion. And look, I know what many of you may be thinking. Trust me and believe me, I know what y'all may be thinking. Y'all might be like, how did we have $95 billion, all this money for other stuff and not at home? That is a question for your local representative, your state representative. That's a question for our president, right? We have to ask those questions. But American has money when it needs to have money. You ever been growing up in a household like that, when your parents you would ask for something as a child and you were like, oh my God, how come your parents constantly told you, oh, we don't have the money, man. But then when stuff happens within the household, money, it just pops up, stuff happens, things change. You got a new car, you got a new piece of appliance, you had to move, something happened. Money happened. That's how it is in America, y'all. I'm trying to think of the most simplest analogy, that we can think of for that. American can get money when it needs to have money. Let me just see, who else? Tiana, my sister, you said the U.S. has been giving other countries aid for decades. This ain't reparations. This ain't reparations. America wants to continue to be, if you know the history of this country, and to Tiana's point, she's absolutely correct. We have been providing aid for numbers of countries for many years. And guess what? As much as we might say, this is a burden, this is not fair, this is what makes America the superpower that it is. I'm going to say that again. As much as we as the constituents may say, this is a burden, this is not fair, this is not right, how did they do this? This is what makes America a superpower. So I want us to keep that in mind as well. That our standing in the world, it's just as much it is about money, it's also about maintaining a standing in the world, to see that America is the global leader that she has always professed herself to be. So that is important. That is super important. It may not be important for us, but in American politics, when you're talking about those relationships, those global relationships, international businesses and international relationships, and you're talking about all the things that is required to keep this country going and running, and more importantly, keeping resources in, keeping certain things out, all of those things, that's important. That's a huge part of the conversation. And I know people probably say, oh, no, how is that important? That is very important. Very important. Let me see here. Spider-Man, check it in. You said worse off. The homeless and mental illness are at a high level. It's time to take care of this country. I hear you loud and clear. Well, that's why we hold our elected officials accountable. Look, I'm going to get one more in. Cindy D, you say America polices the world? Absolutely. Absolutely. Polices the world, and not only polices the world, but strives to be the moral standard of the world. Yep. Tries. That's part of being a superpower, that you want to be the moral standard of the world. Look, we got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, let's continue to get your reactions. And I'm going to get into some more details about the situation around TikTok, because we may see a major change with the social media app. So stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
Game on. State of the Union 2024. Huge night for President Joe Biden.
This was a CVS receipts type of night.
He dragged the hell out of the Supreme Court. And he said, y'all gonna see the power of women.
Trump's brain is melting as we speak.
We want to organize from a place of strength.
There's no confusion whatsoever about what they've done and what they plan to do.
What Donald Trump is doing is presenting a fallacy.
He is convincing them that he's all in it for them, when in fact he's all in it for himself.
We do not feel Joe Biden, in spite of the success that have taken place during this administration economically. There are too many things where we do not feel like he's had our back.
You should also be investing in the barbershops and the beauty salons and the hookah bars and the folks who are going to the club, and there's a way to actually get them registered because we've done it before. But if you don't have folks who understand that dynamic, then you're missing a big opportunity.
So we said we just celebrated. For what? Why don't you go to celebrate rather than recommit yourself to the fight if the very thing we went to celebrate has been gutted?
Republicans did not support a lot of the bills that were necessary to keep the country fluid. You can't only love your country when you win, right?
Oh, no. You guys don't want another $2 trillion tax cut?
This was absolutely the knockdown, drag out that we were really waiting for.
Black voters are the base. They're the most important base of the Democratic Party. There was very few language in this speech. At the time, we see an attack on black history, an attack on DEI. The end of the BLM racial reckoning thing has come to a complete end because there was nothing in this speech for that.
Our movement has never been grounded in two-party politics in this country. All of our movements ultimately get co-opted by a state that is anti-black.
They called the old because they knew the way, and they called the young because they were strong. And I believe there is a good combination of that, but we can have ideas and we can have visions and dreams, but we have to have our young people also working beside us because they are strong and they will run that race and they will run it to the end.
Activists, organizers, and young people have been pushing this administration to be on the right side of history and to do something about the issues that they care about.
While the Ukraine and Palestine are critical issues, they are not the only global issues.
Not a single black person who should ever let it come out their mouth that I'm tired. Because there is somebody else who came before us who didn't stop fighting.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. And for the first half of the show, I just wanted to simply break down the monumental bill that was signed into law by the president, and more importantly, get your reactions to this bill, $95 billion package that was signed. And a lot of it is going to Ukraine, a lot is going to Israel. For Ukraine aid, Israel funding. There's a difference. Aid is to help. Israel is, I guess you could say funding is to help, but it's a different thing, which is why we're seeing all these protests on college campuses like we talked about yesterday. So America is not completely clean from what's happening in Gaza. We've talked about this, but it is something in this bill that is something. $26 billion worth of something that America is still giving to Israel and funding Israel. Yeah. Now, there has been $1 billion extra in humanitarian assistance to those who have been impacted by Israel that was funded by America. Y'all see where I'm going? So, I don't know if that is a win or a victory, but it is what it is. Now, again, there's going to be a lot of discussion about this in terms of the priorities of the country and all of those things. And at the end of the day, we knew that this was going to happen. Ukraine, Russia, that conflict is still raging. We're seeing Israel and Gaza's happening. Now with Iran coming into the picture and how Israel has responded to that situation, it's going to continue. It's going to continue. Now, who did I see here? Because I saw someone bring up an excellent point about this. Let me see here. Which culture crew member did I see? Beverly Jackson. There it is. Beverly. Thank you. I wanted to make sure I got you, Beverly, because I think you brought up an excellent point. Beverly Jackson, you posted that, was there anything in the package for funding or aid for Haiti? Not that I saw, Beverly. Not that I saw, not that it was reported. There was nothing that was in that for Haiti. Now, I can ask my team to see if anything has been allocated for Haiti, but based on the reports that I saw, I didn't see anything. So I'm going to put that on my team and say, look, let's make sure Haiti is covered. If Haiti is not covered, it speaks for itself. It speaks for itself. Your priorities lie in the budget. Always remember that, folks. The priorities of any administration, hell, the priorities of our individual household is based on what we spend our money on, right? So our priorities lies in the budget. Absolutely. But that's a great point, though, Beverly. Great point. I'm glad you brought that up. And that's why I wanted to, bring it up even further, because as we're talking about what's happening or the destabilization of Haiti, that has to be something like the America can gain from Haiti. And it's so unfortunate. It really is. I remember, speaking about Haiti really quickly, I remember when President Obama had opened the door for Cuba. Y'all remember that? It was like a brief period of time. It was very brief. It was like, America had all these sanctions against Cuba and everything. And then President Obama, and I thought this was a real shining spot of his administration and his ability to lead. He was able to kind of diffuse a lot of the old tensions, and then he was able to open it up the gate for Cuba. And it was like a very brief time. And then Trump got in office. That thing closed right back up. And it's like, man, if America just had the vision to not continue certain policies that have been enacted for decades and decades ago, based on this idea of white supremacy and colonialism, imperialism, those ideas, and say, you know what, let's open up the door, because we have more Haitians and Cubans in this country than ever before. You have a lot of places, I'm talking about major cities and big states that are having an influx of those immigrants, our brothers and sisters and others coming from those spaces, right? That America doesn't do more to really support that. So it's unfortunate. It's very, very unfortunate. Again, Beverly, thank you for bringing that up. Look, let's take another quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk about TikTok and what this particular bill does for the social media app, because there are some concern that TikTok may be served as a national security threat, which is why House Republicans decided to include this into this $95 billion package. So we'll talk about that on the other side. Stay with me. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
I need you to scream for your new beginning. 5, 4, 3, 2. I need you to shout for it. I need you to shout for it. It won't always be like this. Sooner or later, it's gonna work in your brother's favor, in your sister's favor. They shall not die. They shall not die. They shall not die. I want you to embrace somebody and tell them welcome to the greatest season of your life. Hug somebody, welcome.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for checking in and being a part of the discussion. We're talking about the big spending bill that President Biden has just signed into law. It's actually $95.3 billion for spending. And I was looking up some more details, trying to see if I can find some details about Haiti. I can't find it. Now, I want to, again, we're going to take a look and see, and then I'm going to ask my team, Lisa, Natty, if we can find something. But as far as I can see, I'm not seeing much. I'm seeing stuff from weeks ago and all of those things, but not in particular to this bill. So we have to see that. But as we're looking into that, I wanted to bring your attention to another element of this bill, which is TikTok. As we know, the social media site has gotten a lot of, I would say, mixed reviews because of the power and its impact. TikTok currently has about 170 million followers, or I guess 70 million users rather, in the United States. Just to put this in context, folks, there are about 320 so million Americans in this country. So you mean to tell me that it was like a little bit of the half of America have used TikTok. And as a result of that, it's giving the Biden administration and Congress some uncertainty because TikTok is, whose parent company is called ByteDance. It's a Chinese operated company. This particular bill that President Biden signed into law will force them to either sell TikTok or have it banned completely in the United States. And they have 270 days to do it. So it's a divest or ban provision in this particular bill. If they don't sell TikTok, as I mentioned, it would lead to prohibition of TikTok on US app stores and from internet hosting sites that support it. And it would effectively, according to the language in the bill, effectively restrict new downloads of the app and interaction with its content. So since the president signed the bill today, the deadline for a sale of TikTok will be January 19th, 2025. That means it happens after the election. And the great concern that politicos have is the fact that TikTok is such a massive social media app that there's a lot of misinformation, disinformation that may happen over these next few months leading up to the election that will confuse potential voters from going to the polls and all the type of stuff. So you got that whole campaign. And as a result of that, it may disrupt voter turnout for for the presidential election. Crew, talk to me. Come on, crew, talk to me. Let me know your take on this. If the sale of like I said, the sale of the deadline is January 19th, 2025, and that's the day before inauguration day of whoever wins this particular presidential candidate campaign. Under the legislation also, President Biden could extend the deadline another 90 days if he determines that ByteDance made progress toward a sale, and that will potentially up to a year, giving them before facing the ban. So they might. It depends on how fast they are moving. If the president feels like they're not moving fast enough, or if the president feels like they are making some progress and trying to do some things in terms of selling, then he's going to give them extra time. If they don't look like they're going to make some progress, then guess what? Lights out for TikTok. Of course, TikTok, ByteDance is looking to take legal action. Their CEO, Shao Chu, told users, rest assured, we aren't going anywhere. We are confident and we will keep fighting for your rights in the court. The facts and the Constitution are on our side and we expect to appeal. And as I mentioned to y'all before, the platform has 170 million US users and 7 million businesses that operate on the app. According to a TikTok spokesperson, they called this particular law unconstitutional and said it would devastate the platform. Kind of even making a point that it would impose on Americans' freedom of speech. That's interesting. That's an interesting take. So, crew, let me hear what y'all got to say about this TikTok. Big Cheese, you said TikTok will drag the bill in court for years. Yeah, well. Yeah, there it is. Who else says it? Thank you so much, the Big Cheese. I appreciate that. Monkey Confessions, you said, welcome, Monkey Confessions. You said, has anyone ever defined what exactly is considered disinformation versus misinformation? That's a good question. But I know that disinformation, let me just double check because I don't want to give out no crazy line. You know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to take a final pause. When we come back, let's talk a little bit about the difference between that because I don't want to use any terms which might throw people off. And I appreciate the question, Monkey Confession. So we're going to take another pause. When we come back, let's talk about that. And I see, Tiana, you posted something about Haiti getting some aid. And I'm going to share that with folks as well as we verify that as well. So stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Man, I'm enjoying this conversation with y'all. I really am, crew. And, man, we probably should have started this sometime earlier, Tiana. We got like a culture crew research team. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I'm so happy that so many of you, as we have having these conversations and talk about these stories, that y'all can dig deep and y'all make sure y'all get your facts clear. Don't come in the crew. Don't come in the chat with some misinformation, some disinformation, trying to throw us all off. So let's talk a little bit. There are two things that I wanted to address very quickly as we talk about this TikTok situation. One is that with the Haiti piece, there was some money that was allocated for that. There was some money that was allocated that, and Tiana, you posted that in your comments, and I saw that, so you're absolutely correct, through USAID. That is the space that you see a lot of foreign assistance, right? So the United States, through USAID, which is the organization, it provided an additional $25 million in humanitarian assistance for Haiti, and that was building on the $33 million for humanitarian assistance that Secretary of State Antony Blinken had announced earlier this week. And of course, according to the statement from the Secretary of State, that the funding will help with efforts by the United Nations and other, non-governmental organizations such as NGOs, partners, to provide immediate food assistance, relief, all types of assistance and relief efforts down there. So you're talking about $33 million. And Tiana, again, thank you so much for posting that. And that's how Haiti is getting its aid. But there is some money coming in. Now, is it in the billions? No. But in millions, conversation still needs to continue with that. So I think we resolved that. Now, let's get back to this piece around, again, we're talking about TikTok, but then, Monkey Confessions, you brought it up. You said, well, what's the difference between misinformation and disinformation? And for those who may feel the same way, feel like, you know what? That is two different terms, and I think we need to be very clear. And it is important, y'all, if nothing else that y'all learn from this show, that words actually matter, that we have to be very, very intentional about the words that we use and how we use them, right? Context clues. So looking at misinformation is when false information is spread, regardless of whether there's an intent to lead. So we might see that often where somebody posts something on a Facebook page or Instagram post or something. It's false, but the person that's posting it is thinking that it's true. They're just throwing it out there. Saying, man, y'all see this? This is crazy. This is wild, right? Disinformation is when you post false information with the intent to mislead. So it comes down to intention. So Monkey Confessions, I hope that answers your question. You're essentially still coming down to intention. What is the intention? Some people can send out false information because they don't know it's false and they just spreading it. We see again on social media, this is a classic example. This happens all the time. But then some people might take, say, for example, they take that story around Trump going to Atlanta to the Chick-fil-A, take that video and see Trump like black people. And that's a disinformation because it's false because they don't tell you that the woman who he hugging up on is actually a black conservative that's been working with that is a supporter of his. It's not just some random woman. That's disinformation. So I want us to make sure that we do understand that. And again, Monkey Confession, thank you for posting that. Mike Berries, Mike, you said solution. Mike, we switch back to a third political party for political leverage and stop complaining. That is going to be the conversation. I think that's going to be the major conversation. Like after this election, I think there's going to be a big discussion around that issue on a third black political, some sort of political party. It may not be completely black. It might have white people and Native Americans and Latinos, but I think it's time. I think it's time. Once we get past this election, I know people probably say, well, and I will tell you that if we don't feel comfortable about it now, we're going to have another 4 years to think about it, God willing, to kind of get ourselves together to the next election. Let me see something here, but I appreciate you for posting that. Thank you so much, Mike. Karen Connor, you said there are many people of color, Farajii, who support themselves from earnings made on TikTok. Although I don't use it, this ban is harmful for those who earn a living from it. Yeah, I get it. But I think and these are House Republicans, Karen, that wanted to get this into the bill, to this big spending bill, because I think they're concerned. Now, they could be politically motivated, but just the information that's put out there, right? I mean, social media, look, I enjoy social media, and Karen, I understand exactly what you're saying, that people make money off of it, but I think some of the social media stuff is going way too far. And I think that it starts to blur the line between fiction and nonfiction. That we're blurring the lines between reality and fantasy. I think that's where the problem is. Like we're so in it. We're so we're all in for social media. And for those of us who may say, oh, well, it's not a big deal to me. I don't, and I get that. But a lot of people are on social media. They get their news from social media. They connect with on social media. They feel a sense of community on social media. They slam people on social media. Social media is that town hall. And it's not just one platform. It's not just Facebook. It's not just X. It's everywhere. It's like if you want to get into something, if you just feel like letting off your rage about a particular topic or subject or issue, or you just want to go in on somebody, I mean, it becomes this space, and it's like this big ass town hall that sometimes gets out of control, where we don't have any boundaries and guidelines and all of those things. And the worst part is, this is my great concern, is that we don't know how to responsibly use social media in a way that empowers, right? I mean, yes, you got businesses on it, but I don't know about y'all, but when I scroll on IG, on Instagram, or even on Facebook, it comes across like a magazine. You got pictures and everybody's selling stuff, and you just feel like an online magazine. You're like, where is the connection? Where are the people? Where's the humanity? You know what I'm saying? Where's the human element of it, instead of just everybody wants to get your eyeballs, get your dollars. So TikTok is in the midst of all of this as we close out. TikTok is in the midst of all of this. And if you don't have boundaries and guidelines, right? And I'm thinking about not just for adults, but then you got to think about the children. You got to think about the children. Now, y'all remember, as we close out, y'all remember the two guys I had, Jesse Gilbert, Professor Iram Sinwright. I had them on. They talked about data and the importance of data mining and all of those things. Like, if you understand this, and not going too deep into the woods with this, but if you understand that your data is going from one place to another, and then that's how preferences are coming up on your feeds, preferences on YouTube, preferences and all of these things, and it becomes that we are slowly becoming more and more integrated with the technology that we use, that we almost feel like life without them is unbearable. So we get into this place and this relationship with technology where it's hard for us to break away. And that is very, very interesting, because even though we're adults to do it, what about those coming behind us, the children, teenagers? especially when they grew up on technology and feel like this is the way to go. I've talked to teachers, talked to Nira and other teachers who are saying that now schools are really pushing for students to learn on iPads. But then at the same time, right, when they get home, that's what there's in their hands. That's how we make sure that, oh, you know what, let's give them an iPad. That's how we handle them. So if school districts across this country are pushing for more technology in the classroom, and taking away some of the key elements of writing. Y'all remember cursive writing? It might be a thing of the past, but I remember going to school for cursive writing, reading, you know what I'm saying, beyond the screen, like just some of those basic fundamental skills that children should have. But if we integrate technology in it, right, thinking that it's going to advance us, it might do more harm than good. So I think it's a worthy debate, a worthy conversation. So again, ByteDance is in a hot seat. We will have to see how they respond. We know legal action is going to be taken, but the president has put his foot down. Congress put his foot down, saying, "Look, if this doesn't change, if there isn't a new owner that we feel comfortable with, because that's really at the root of it all, that this is a Chinese parent, this is a Chinese company that's mining the data from Americans, it might be a problem." Folks, stay with us. When we get back on the other side, we're going to switch gears. Let's talk a little bit about making a pivot and so much more. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. This is an opportunity for us to be able to speak to our issues.
Y'all better understand something real quick. We ain't going nowhere.
It is a continual battle that we see all across this country. Revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be streamed.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
He makes sure that our stories are told.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared. Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next-generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney, and if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I am so happy that you're able to join us. And of course, I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Folks, we are streaming live on our home website of blackstarnetwork.com. Go to our website today, download the app for free, and certainly support us, throw something in the bucket as we power through this digital space. Now, speaking of powering through, we want to talk about how it's important that sometimes when life starts lifing, you may have to make the big decision of switching course. And so my first guest for today is a woman who went through all of the steps to become successful in going one path, only to find out, you know what? I'm not happy anymore, and it is time for me to make a change, to make a pivot. So I am very, very happy to talk to my sister who is a former OBGYN and is now the founder of Just Jeannie, which is a lifestyle brand. We're happy to have her joining us today, Miss Jeannie Jacobs, Dr. Jeannie Jacobs, MD, for joining us, for making this change and talking about it's never too late to pivot. Now, Dr. Jeannie, do I say Dr. Jeannie? How do you like to be
I'll tell you, when I hear doctor, it makes me nervous. The anxiety goes.
Okay, so no, we ain't trying to do that. We ain't trying to do that. We ain't trying to do that. So
So
we're gonna just say Jeannie.
yes, perfect.
Jeannie Jacobs is joining us. She is the founder of Just Jeannie Lifestyle brand and talking about why it's never too late to make a pivot. Jeannie, this is a fascinating story because one, you are a Black woman. You have really kind of met or exceeded the metrics of success, right? You've gone through school. I mean, you went through medical school. You are a very, very well-respected OBGYN. And then something happened. You decided to make a change. What was that change? What happened for you?
Well, definitely during COVID. I was actually part-time. So just before COVID, I actually went part-time as an OB-GYN. I didn't do full coverage. I just kind of worked in clinics and helped out as needed in the hospital. So when COVID struck, most of my colleagues couldn't work. People were ill. There was a doctor shortage. So I went back to help, and it was a nightmare. I sat there and I watched people who knew better come in with COVID. I watched them die. I watched them not care, spread it to other people. And I was like, what am I doing? Am I supposed to sit here and take all this and basically die with a baby in my hand because people won't listen? I mean, I'm giving more than 100% to patients who really didn't care. And I said, what about my own family? What about my self-care? What about my health? Why am I running around the hospital, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, stressed out, worrying about somebody could die on me, but that person really didn't care, So I started looking at my life. Sure, I, did everything, dot the I's, cross the T's, gave my time to people and things, but I didn't give myself my time that I needed. My children, I had kids late, I finally have a kid that's a tween. I had
Okay.
at 40, and the second one was basically 43. They needed me. I didn't want to watch them go through school and miss all their events and say, what happened? You are now 18, you're leaving my house and I don't know you. And I never to say, I didn't know my mom because my mom was at the hospital all the time because she was operating all the time. She was always with other people. There's something wrong with that. And then the medical system itself does not really give room for women or even just say physicians in general to be human, to actually develop who they really are, their own purpose, because they want to control that. You go to the hospital and you work for the hospital, the system, but when you're home, you should be home. That's your time. And not have them say, oh, you're doing other things. Well, you really shouldn't. And so we're going to take a percentage of what you're getting paid or you're doing, it was just ridiculous. No one owns me. You own yourself. And I decided I was going to take control of that and do something different. And of course, my colleagues, they were looking at me, oh, she is a nut. Why would you give up this, and you'd study forever and ever? Yeah, I'm going to give it up to save my sanity and live my life purpose, because I do not want to close my eyes and say, I wish I should have, could have. Because that is point of life. And again, I tell people all the time, and I tell my colleagues, and particularly the residents that were training at that time when I was attending at the medical center here in Houston, they were like freaking out, like, what is she doing? And now they understand. I talk to them still today. They've been out 6, 7, 8 years now, and they got it. But, change is good. Don't be afraid of change. There are 2 things in life that are constant. That is death and change. Death, you can't do anything about it, but change you can. And you could take it on and just power through, because you start opening doors and you start realizing who you are. You start empowering yourself. You just start discovering like things you never thought you could do, say, or be. It just starts to happen for you.
Wow. Jeannie, I got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, I got so many questions. I'm going to try to squeeze them in as many as possible. But your story is very inspiring, to say the least. To me, just to hear more of the details about your story, and more importantly, the mental toll that it took on you as a doctor, And now you're in this space where you're like, you had a chance to sit back, to stand back and reflect, and to come to those moments of clarity of saying, look, I need to be in my children's life. I need to focus on my self-care. I need to start feeling happy again. And I think that is so critical because, you know, we can chalk it up to capitalism. We can chalk it up to our egos. But sometimes when we make those choices rooted in that type of motivation, we find ourselves getting the short end of the stick when it comes to life. So I got so many questions for you, Jeannie, but I want to certainly talk a little bit more about that on the other side. Folks, stay with me as we're talking about it's never too late to pivot, as I check in with Jeannie Jacobs, who is the founder of Just Jeannie lifestyle brand, and she's a former OBGYN, and talking about her journey to find happiness. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. This is an opportunity for us to be able to speak to our issues. Y'all better understand something real quick. We ain't going nowhere. It is a continual battle that we see all across this country. Revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be streamed.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
He makes sure that our stories are told.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I am joined by a very special guest, Jeannie Jacobs, who is the founder of Just Jeannie lifestyle brand. And this is a brand that is rooted in this idea that Jeannie has come to understand in her own personal journey of empowering personal evolution and embracing change. I love that, Jeannie. I absolutely love that. But this is a lifestyle brand that, you know, this is an outgrowth of your love for cooking, DIY projects, interior design. You have a product that's on the market called Luminosity Candle, which is a crafted creation that blends the soothing power of aromatherapy and symbolism of illumination, which I think is absolutely important. And you really talk about how to get into falling in love with yourself, how to chart your own path for personal happiness. And coming from the space of being a medical doctor, working under those intense, from the long hours to the intense pressure, what would you say would be the biggest challenge for a person to make a pivot like you did in their life? Is it the mental challenge? Is it money? Is it family support? What would you say? What were the challenges you had to face?
My challenge was more or less a mental process because of all the academics, going to college, the med school, the training. It was just like, oh my gosh, I have spent so much time. To me, time is more precious than money. Okay. You never can get time back. You can always make more money, right? But that time, and I had to sit there and say, okay, but look, well, what I'm looking down the road now, I'm now, at early 50. If I don't make a change now, what's going to happen? I had to take it. My time is limited, you know. I hope to live to 100, 120. That'd be cool. See some great grandchildren, whatever. But you got to take the time that you have and maximize that and make the best of it. I've already given, you know, all my time in the past to other people. It's now my time. And I knew if I could gain my time back, I could be whatever I wanted to be truly and be free, you know? And actually, this is why this whole thing came about. This was not planned. I just started living my life, living the best parts of my life. And people start seeing that. And again, like my colleagues, former colleagues, they start seeing that. They saw me from the hospital. They're sitting in the doctor's lounge talking about me, you know, and seeing me on social media. The things that I do, I think are just very simple, like cleaning my refrigerator and or going out there planting something in the garden actually has been uplifting and motivating other people and inspiring them to be their best and to pursue things they never thought they could.
And Jeannie, it seems like there's so much, and I'm saying for Black folks in this country, right? We are under so much cultural pressure to make a lot of money, never go to sleep, never focus on ourselves, always grind. That's what we say, rise and grind, stuff like that, right? And this sounds like your story is counterintuitive to this culture, but it takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of faith to even get to a place to say, you know what, I'm gonna do this, because you know they're gonna be naysayers, whether it's from your close friends, your family. People are gonna put the seed in your head then, oh, if you make a move like this, you go from a doctor to opening up your own business, you're not gonna succeed. So as you talk about the mental transitions and changes that you had to make, what were some of the things that you held on to? What philosophy or what mindset did you hold on to get you through those moments?
Well, my backstory is I grew up in South Carolina and I am only daughter. I had a lot of brothers. So I grew up in a house, there were just men, boys everywhere. So, you know, I wasn't treated that well. People say, oh, you have to be spoiled. I was not. So probably as a toddler, my mom would tell you, I was just very determined. You couldn't tell me I couldn't do something. If you did, I was going to whip your butt because I'm going to get up and do it. Not only once, but several times. So that was me. I knew that I could do it. I didn't let other people tell me I couldn't do it. And I definitely didn't let other people get in my head. So I created my own story, my own vision. And I just said, we're going to do it.
Right. And let me ask you this question, Jeannie. When you made that decision, did you tell anybody? Like, did you kind of like work under the radar for a little bit before you said you brought Just Jeannie to the public space?
I did, because it was just easier for me to keep it in my head, keep that vision clean.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
so you didn't go on social media? You didn't go on social media?
No, not initially. I was selling houses. I actually sell real estate too in Houston. So it's kind of just evolved. And I said, one day I woke up, I said, okay, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna make these rolls, you know, and
right.
I'm gonna do this. I posted and the DMs went out of control and posted about my closet. And that was, it kept going.
So you were already kind of doing some things on the entrepreneurial front.
Yeah,
that kind of opened up the doors for you to do this. So it wasn't like it was a break because your primary role was being a medical doctor,
right?
But then you still have these other things, and I want to kind of speak to that because we are so conditioned to think that we can only focus on one thing. Now, I'm not a huge advocate of being the jack of all trades and the masters of nothing, right? I'm not an advocate of that, but I truly believe that some of us have maybe 2 to 3 strong talents to do things, and that we could manifest and express those things. It just takes time, patience, and making sure that we're on the right path. So talk to me about that process.
Definitely. Another principle I grew up with, I always told my grandfather, always told me, he said, you can never live on one paycheck. Always have something on the side. And I think big thing. I tell my children that. I said, sure, you know, I have a daughter, she's brilliant. Okay. She probably end up going to MIT or Stanford. Okay. But I tell her, that's fine. Academics is great. Have that job, but you need to have a business. You need to keep some talent that you have to yourself and let it work it, manifest it. because that's what's going to keep you sane. It not only gives you a backup, if things do fall apart with your job or your career path, it just keeps you sane, keeps you growing, keeps you discovering who you are. And I think a lot of people don't go that path. They say, oh, I'll just get that job. You're a doctor. You should be happy. Just make your money. And that's it. But what if something happens down the road where you get tired of doing what you're doing, or you become ill, or you lose a spouse? You need to have those talents. You need to keep those and really, work them, manifest them, make them your own. And that's really important. And so that's what I
Absolutely.
and, I'm never been afraid to let my light shine, because my candle, luminosity, this backstory on that, the reason why I named it that, when I was a little girl, I grew up in a Baptist church, we always sang this little light of mine. I'd be out there screaming it. I couldn't sing, but I was screaming it on the choir. And I've took that to heart. You have to let your light shine. You can't hide it. You got to go out there and use it, because God gives you gifts, right? If you don't use them, what's going to happen? He's going to take them from you.
It's like the talents in the scriptures, right?
Yeah,
He gave you a few talents, and then whether you multiply on those talents or not, it will mean a world of difference. Look, I got to take another pause, but Jeannie, I want to give you, on the other side, we'll give you some final remarks, and once again, talking about your lifestyle brand. And more importantly, for those who are feeling like they need to do a pivot in their lives, maybe you can give us some little bits of wisdom and some nuggets that folks can hold on to as they're making big transitions in their lives. Folks, we'll continue the conversation with Jeannie Jacobs, founder of Just Jeannie. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm talking to a fantastic guest as she talks about her evolution and how she has decided to make a pivot from being a OBGYN to now being a founder of a lifestyle brand. I'm checking in with Jeannie Jacobs, and you can find her on the website, justjeanniejacobs.com. Again, folks, that's justjeanniejacobs.com. This is a lifestyle brand where they offer so much, from everything talking about cooking and DIY projects, but they have a new product called the Luminosity Candle. And this is a mixture of aromatherapy and illumination. And it's a way for you and for us to get back to it. But there it is right there, folks. That's the Luminosity Candle. And it is a way for us to start the process of personal evolution, embracing change, and not being afraid to make the pivot. It is not too late. It is certainly not too late. Jeannie, I wanted to kind of get some nuggets of wisdom from you about making this transition. How did you know for sure that this transition was the direction you needed to go? Because, people go to many different sources nowadays, right? And some people look to the stars and astrology. Some people talk to their friends. Some people, just feel within themselves, they like, I'm burnt out. Like one of our culture crew members, she talks about this, Keisha Poole. Keisha said that, she said, after 25 years in law enforcement, talk about people who didn't care about me, I pivoted back to myself and my children. Thanks for your validation. I can relate. Thank you, Keisha, for your service in 25 years, but I can only imagine it takes the toll. So for you, Jeannie, what are some of the signs that a person may be ready to make that big pivot?
When you can't concentrate on your work because you're concentrating on other things that you need to do. If you realize your health is failing, if you realize your personal relationships aren't as strong as they need to be, or are you just plain tired? It's time to make that pivot, and it's okay to do it. Just say yes to yourself. Okay. The biggest thing is you got to find your purpose. What is it that you want to do? And that is the hardest thing for everybody. And what I did, I wasn't quite sure. And I said, it's not going to stop me. So what I did, I figured out who I used to be. Because before, everything was about being a physician. But who was I before a physician? And that's how I found out what my purpose was. What did I needed to do? I wrote down my goals. Accountability is everything. I didn't tell anybody, but I wrote them down and I put them in a book. And then I went back in that book and I wrote down how I'm going to accomplish each goal. So it had to be something concrete. And every morning I would wake up and I look in that mirror and I said, Jeannie, you can. No, Jeannie, you have. Jeannie, you've done it. You see? So that mindset started changing. And it started changing me. So when I went to the hospital, people could see that change, but they couldn't figure it out. But keep people guessing, keep moving towards your goal. Keep people guessing. They don't need to figure it out. And then all of a sudden, one morning in June, I was finishing my call and I signed up my patient and I stood up and I said, I'm done. And my medical supervisor I called and I said, I think you already knew. I gave you a little hint, like 6 months ago, I'm probably going to be done. I said, this morning, I am done. I am not coming back. And that's it. And he was upset on the phone. He threatened me like, oh, don't worry. You won't come back. We're going to fire you and blah, 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 blah. And, I wasn't upset. I was not. I was so calm. The nurses were sitting there listening to me. They were like, oh, wow, Jacobs. Did you go Jacobs? But I wasn't upset because I knew I was done. And I don't know how to describe it, but that moment, everything just dissipate, all the stresses, the anxiety. I just had a breakthrough. And, I'm not mad with him today. And I said, I understand, but I'm gone. And I stood up and I started walking out. The nurses started filming me. I took off my scrub cap, threw my ID badge in the trash, my physician coat, and I never looked back. And I'm glad I never looked back. I have no doubt about my decision. I am firm with it and I'm good with it.
That is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. And to hear that, Jeannie, is absolutely inspirational to say the least. And you took the necessary steps. And I've been in that space so many times. It's like, you know what? I'm done. I'm moving forward. And I am just so happy that you were able to do that. But I'm even happier that you were able to join us today just to talk about this journey and more importantly, to kind of give, as Keisha Poole said, and others who might be in it, that, you know what, this is validation that this is something that can be done. It doesn't matter how old you are, where you are in your career with certain things, that you can make a major pivot. And it's a beautiful thing. Jeannie, I want to give you a chance to just take another minute or so to talk about your lifestyle brand of Just Jeannie and how people can get in touch with you and support the work that you're doing.
Well, I'm now referring to myself as the lifestyle maven. I'll get some
lifestyle maven
from people. They're calling me the Martha Stewart. And I think that's perfect because I love home decor. I just love life experiences, travel, food. I like spending time with people. And so my brand is here to motivate, inspire, and watch people just transform into beautiful things, do beautiful things with their lives. So my vision one day is to have a home decor line. So I started a candle line first. And I just came up with luminosity because this was my awakening. And I want this candle to be seen as an awakening for other people, to inspire them to transform their lives to be their best. And luminosity is so important to me. It is definitely, grounded into this little light of mine. When I smell this candle, I look at it, that's the first thing I think about. Let your light shine, transform. Don't be afraid of the journey. Take it on, because you never want to sit here in your life and go, oh my gosh, I'm at the end, or I wish I should have, could have. What if I did? Don't be in that position. Let your light shine. Be who you are. Don't worry about what people say or think. The people who are saying things about you or don't quote unquote like you, there's nothing wrong with you. You're living a life that they wish they could, that they're afraid to. So keep moving in the direction into your purpose. And the world is going to open up. Those doors are going to open up. You're going to have more than you ever thought you did. So
that is awesome.
Keep striving.
There it is right there. Folks, I've been checking in with Jeannie Jacobs. Her brand is Just Jeannie, and I want y'all to definitely check her out as she is the lifestyle maven. She is putting out not just product, but more importantly, giving us some direction on how we can achieve personal happiness, and more importantly, how she is just an embodiment of how it's never too late to make the pivot. Jeannie, I want to thank you so much for sharing your story, and more importantly, I congratulate you.
Thank you.
Congratulate me, and my hope is that someone is inspired to make some big changes like you have made, and more importantly, said, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Whatever that do it is, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Just say it is like that. I'm gonna do it.
I'll do it. Exactly.
There it is. That's it right there.
And I love to hear from people. If you have a huge pivot that's going on and things are moving in directions, you need encouragement, get up, DM me on Instagram at Jeannie Jacobs and post your story and use hashtag, shine with Jeannie. Okay. So I can see it. I just love to hear people's stories and see people just thrive. And it's huge for me.
There it is right there. There it is. Just Jeannie. I appreciate you so much, Jeannie Jacobs. Thank you so much for your story. And God willing, I hope to cross paths with you soon. But I will definitely follow you on social media to keep up with the work that you're doing. But thank you for joining us here on The Culture.
Thank you for having me. This has been great.
Absolutely. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk hip hop. Check in with music insider Tasha Love. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
Game on! State of the Union 2024, huge night for President Joe Biden.
This was a CBS receipts type of night.
He dragged the hell out of the Supreme Court. And he said, y'all gonna see the power of women.
Trump's brain is melting as we speak.
We want to organize from a place of strength.
There's no confusion whatsoever about what they've done and what they plan to do.
What Donald Trump is doing is presenting a fallacy.
He is convincing them that he's all in it for them, when in fact he's all in it for himself.
We do not feel Joe Biden, in spite of the success that have taken place during this administration economically. There are too many things where we do not feel like he's had our back.
You should also be investing in the barbershops and the beauty salons and the hookah bars and the folks who are going to the club, and there's a way to actually get them registered because we've done it before. But if you don't have folks who understand that dynamic, then you're missing a big opportunity.
So we said we just celebrated. For what? Why did you go to Selma to celebrate rather than recommit yourself to the fight if the very thing we went to celebrate has been gutted?
Republicans did not support a lot of the bills that were necessary to keep the country fluid. You can't only love your country when you win, right?
Oh, no. You guys don't want another $2 trillion tax cut?
This was absolutely the knockdown, drag out that we were really waiting to
Black
see.
voters are the base. They're the most important base of the Democratic Party. There was very few language in this speech. At the time, we see an attack on Black history, attack on DEI. The end of the BLM racial reckoning thing has come to a complete end because there was nothing in this speech for that.
Our movement has never been grounded in two-party politics in this country. All of our movements ultimately get co-opted by a state that is anti-Black.
They called the old because they knew the way, and they called the young because they were strong. And I believe there is a good combination of that, But we can have ideas and we can have visions and dreams, but we have to have our young people also working beside us because they are strong and they will run that race and they will run it to the end.
Activists, organizers, and young people have been pushing this administration to be on the right side of history and to do something about the issues that they care about.
While the Ukraine and Palestine are critical issues, they are not the only global issues.
Not a single black person who should ever let it come out their mouth that I'm tired. Because there is somebody else who came before us who didn't stop fighting.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Now, check it in with our culture contributor. She's music insider Tasha Love. And Tasha, first and foremost, good afternoon. Tasha,
Hi.
I don't appreciate you coming on to the show, and you got more fans than me.
Oh, word. I
Big
wasn't
shout out.
aware.
I see. Yeah. L Boogie checked in and is like, oh, I love Tasha.
Well, thank you, Elle. I wasn't aware, but I'm so excited to hear that.
Absolutely. All right, Tasha, let's talk about a couple of things that are happening in your world, and it's really our world, it's our culture, hip-hop music, hip-hop culture. Right. First and foremost, I wanted to start the conversation talking about Meg The Stallion, how she is apparently at the center of another controversy where a former I'd say staff member, a cameraman, has accused her of sexual harassment. Now, this is a very interesting story because not only has he accused her of sexual harassment, he also has mentioned that there are some unpaid wages that for his time as her cameraman. And here's the quote coming. Check this out. This is from Yahoo News. Take a look at this. In the suit filed in the LA Superior Court, Emilio Garcia said that after a night out in 2020, in Ibiza, Spain, he was in an SUV with the hip hop star when she began having sex with another woman right next to him. Wow. He was unable to get out of the moving car and would have been in the middle of nowhere in a foreign country, even if he was able. Garcia said he was embarrassed, mortified, and offended throughout the whole ordeal, according to the lawsuit. Wow. Now, take a look at this. Let's put up quote number 2. Then Tasha, I would love to get your take on it. The next day, Megan told him to never discuss what he saw and berated and fat-shamed him, according to the lawsuit. The complaint also said that Garcia, who had already considered quitting because he was overworked and underpaid in a hostile work environment aggravated by Megan's possessiveness and abusiveness, was misclassified as an independent contractor but treated as an exclusive employee. He raised those issues in the conversation with Megan and was fired the following day after 4 years of working for her, the suit said. He has since filed a job description complaint with the California Civil Rights Department. Wow. So this is some serious allegations. Now, there are some complexities to this allegation because Emilio Garcia, he is a white male. But more importantly, he when you look at the conversation around this, Tasha, about Megan Thee Stallion being accused of sexual harassment because a person had to watch her in relations with another woman or just in general, that it opens up the door for people to ridicule this man, for people to say, what kind of man is he, and all of that stuff. But there are some things that could be offensive to people. What's your take on this?
Well, listen, the thing about this is that what's so interesting really about this is my first show with you, we were talking about the allegations about Diddy, and we were talking about the sexual allegations that were brought against him. And I said that we have to pay attention to what Little Rod said, right? Because he's a guy.
Right.
And so with that said, here I am during the last week of your show, unfortunately, talking about Meg The Stallion and what a male employee is saying about her. The thing that bothers me the most about this case is the timeline. I don't want to take anything away from Mr. Garcia when I say that he started working with her in 2018. This happened in 2022. Here we are in 2024, and he's just bringing these allegations forth, along with the fact that he's not been compensated appropriately. But this is after Meg has gone through the Tory Lanez trial, right? When she was on lockdown in her house, not performing because this was a traumatic ordeal for her. So coming from a monthly payment of $4,000 to because he was traveling the world with her, right? They were going to Ibiza, they were going all across the country, but now he's grounded because she's going through this particular trial. It's a lot for her. And so for him to all of a sudden go from a monthly pay amount of $4,000 to an as needed employee, that's going to mess with his money, right?
Absolutely.
The thing that bothers me the most about this, though, is that this happened in 2022, and he didn't bring this forth until now when he started talking about, oh, I didn't get my money. Okay, so now you didn't get your money. Now when you go to your lawyer, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, by the way, I have a caveat. I was in a limousine when she performed fellatio on someone else in front of me, but I felt inconvenienced. If you were so inconvenienced and you were so upset, why not voice it then? Now pause. This goes back to what I said when we were talking about Diddy and Little Rod. I am not necessarily in a place where I can tell a victim how they should feel when they should feel it. So I'm kind of conflicted, right? I understand what he's saying, but this is a caveat to me. And this case kind of mirrors Lizzo, where it was, oh, Lizzo made me do this, Lizzo made me do that, now Meg made me do that. I sat there, oh yeah, by the way, I didn't get paid what I was promised. So this is kind of a little shady to me. I'm not saying that it didn't happen. I'm just saying that it comes across as a bit shady. But I don't want to negate his feelings. I do not want to negate his feelings. If he feels, and California law is different, he is protected as an employee. But I just can't wholeheartedly say that I really trust this. That's it.
Well, you know what? I think that is fair. And you know what? I think it opens up the door, Tasha, for us to have a larger conversation about sex and sexuality, especially in hip hop culture, right?
Absolutely.
Like, you know, when we have, and going back to the Diddy conversation, like, we're still, even though hip hop is 50 years old, we're immature about having nuanced conversations about sexuality and sex. You know what I mean? That even 50 years later, women are still perceived and presented to the world as just eye candy. Men are hyper masculine in their expression. And as a result of that, we're supposed to be churning out greatness, right? And there aren't any new conversations happening. There aren't any conversations about people and how they see themselves. Certainly there's no conversation about gender, but then there aren't any conversation about the fact that you don't always have men who come into the hip hop space, hip hop culture, wanting to degrade women. And that's frowned upon. That's frowned upon. Let a rapper or let an artist say, hey, you know what? I'm not calling the women a B word, or we're not going to do that. Let an artist say, as a woman artist, I'm not going to just strip down nakeds for likes and for claps. And as a result of that, she won't be seen, she won't be promoted, she won't get the resources to go mainstream. So there's still a lot of maturing that hip hop culture and the hip hop artist has to do. And we're just not having, and the funny part is, we probably talk about more sex than any other genre of music.
I agree. I mean, we are talking about Luke. We're talking about just really every artist that's
and let me just say very quickly, hey Tasha, I just saw this the day before I started the show. You talked about Luke. This man gets on social media and starts talking about what women should be doing to take care of themselves, to please their man. Like, bruh,
Listen.
Come on, man.
But
Listen,
you know
this
what's
is
so
the same
strange?
guy.
Yeah, but what's so strange about Luke is that I once watched a MTV documentary that showed his wife. I don't know. I can't recall what she did. I don't know if she's a lawyer, but nevertheless, she's a professional. And he went for the most subdued female. He didn't go for the stripper. He didn't go for the artist. He went for someone that is really, really very business oriented. You know, I want to say that she almost downplays her beauty because he's around that all the time. So it really just goes to show you that what he's doing is really a business, right? He wants to show the women that are scantily clad. He wants to show the women that are in the club. But at the end of the day, he wants a woman that's going to be there to help take care of the household, to raise his children, somebody that his children can go to for support, who's going to be there when he comes home, waiting with a hot meal and
right.
Dare I say his shoes? But what I'm saying is that what he wants is completely different than what he raps about. So
and that's
I think
the problem, Tasha.
That's the problem. That is a problem, but that's men. I mean, you know.
Wait a minute. That's who?
That's men. I just so many rap analogies come to my mind, even from Adina Howard. Like, you want a lady at home, but you want a freak in the sheets. I mean, which is it? Like, it's like I want someone to take to a party that men can look at. Oh, but don't look too long. I mean, it's you guys who really confuse women, right?
We're not
like,
doing this, Tasha. We're not doing this. I see what you're doing.
No.
Enough time.
This is on men. You know, you guys want somebody that is eye candy on your arm, but you also want somebody to be there to wake your kids up, get them dressed, go to school. But at the same time, you want somebody who goes with you to the party that can wear what she wears, and men will be like, you know, I like that. But at the same time, don't touch.
But see, that is rooted, and that's why I'm saying that we have to have some different conversations within hip hop culture, for an evolution of that patriarchal model, right? That's patriarchy at its finest, right? Where it's like, no, I'm in control. You are eye candy. You are the worker of the house, and men were not a part of that. And look, I know that there are a number of Black men and brothers and men in general who are in the hip hop world, but who are very active at home, who are very active with their families, who are married, and who doesn't fit that archetype of just being out there sowing their royal oats and whatnot, and in the streets all day, right? But that's the culture.
True.
The culture that has to be challenged and redefined and changed. And I think that's the problem. And going back to Megan, as we take this quick pause, but going back to Meg, like, and there are so many complexities to this, but I don't want people to act as if two things: men aren't sexually harassed, and men don't go through sexual abuse or rape or sexual violence.
Agree.
Men experience this stuff all the time, especially Black men.
Yeah.
And I think that we just need to have some nuance. I mean, we make fun of Meek Mill, we make fun of Diddy, we're seeing all this stuff, but the reality is Will Smith and all this. But the reality is, a lot of Black boys have been exposed to sexual violence and sexual abuse at a very young age, and then when they get older, we're like, man, why they act like that? Because they did not have a place or a space, a safe space to talk.
Right.
To heal. And that's the problem. And so only time will tell whether Mr. Garcia's allegations are true against Meg The Stallion.
Right.
But I think that it does open up the conversation, just like the Lil Rod piece opens up the conversation about men, sexual abuse, sexual violence, sexuality. We got to have some nuanced conversations, Tasha. We'll
have these nuances. We'll see once they call the driver. We'll see once they call the mystery female. We just have to sit back and wait. But at the same time, the problem is, it is his word versus her word. Her
Right.
pleading is going to be brought to trial. So we got to sit back and wait. So, I mean, I'm down for another conversation if you are.
And the sad,
no,
hey, look,
no matter what
look,
platform it is that you're on, but I'm interested in furthering the conversation.
Absolutely. And it's going to be interesting because she is the star and he is considered to be the underling. And that also plays a power in the power dynamics of understanding that relationship. So
yeah,
it will be very, very interesting. Look, we got to take another quick pause when we come forward. Let's talk about diss tracks. Are they truly good for the culture? I'll check in with Tasha and get her take on it because Chris Brown, Quavo, I got some words to say about all of this. Stay with me. It's the culture here on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, checking in with music insider Tasha Love. Tasha always bringing some heat and some great analysis. And Tasha, I know that this is the last conversation that we'll have on this show. I know. So don't even start, Tasha. Don't even start. Don't start. All right, look, let's talk about this. There's now within the culture of hip hop, we also are seeing that there's this like resurgence of the battle rappers and diss tracks and all of that. Now, some people say that this thing certainly has ebbs and flows within the music, right? You know, there have been major issues where artists are going at each other. What you're talking about, the now classic and infamous East Coast West Coast situation, to what we saw from Jay-Z versus Nas. And I mean, we can go down, and there was Nicki, I think Nicki and Meg, they were going at it some time ago. Yes. But now it's like everybody is dissing someone else. And with this latest round coming from an R&B dude named Chris Brown, I don't know if anybody remember him. I don't know if anybody know who he is. He's kind of he did a couple of songs. Chris Brown.
What's that about?
I'm just joking. R&B superstar Chris Brown going against a rapper who was 1/3 member of the major group Migos. Him and Quavo have kind of battled it out. And people have said that Chris Brown's diss track was, at this point, claimed the winner in that particular battle. But I want to go deeper than that, because the last time you were actually on, we talked about J. Cole feeling remorseful about even putting out some diss against Kendrick Lamar. Right. And my concern is, are these diss tracks really, really good for the culture and for the music? And here's why. One is because at the end of the day, as fans and consumers of the music and lovers of the genre, we are now going to have to be forced to kind of be in a space of choosing artist versus artist, right? And as we know that, as it goes on wax, it translates to the fans, and then it changes the energy and the culture in the streets. So now Chris Brown said some things, some very hurtful things. And look, as much as y'all think it's fire, and I was like, whoa, he went hard.
He did.
But at the same time, saying things like, people wish that you were dead instead of Takeoff. And then Quavo responded saying they got a name you got a bullet with your name on it.
Yeah.
It gets to be to this point where is this stuff really good for the culture? What's your take on this, Tasha?
So my take is that this is a battle, right? And I'm gonna go back a bit because I'm not gonna let you diss Chris like that. And
I'm not dissing
I
Chris. I like
recognize that
Chris
it was
Brown.
I recognize that it was the softest. So let me acknowledge that. But what I'm saying is that Chris Brown is multi-talented, and
Absolutely.
as is every musician, right? They all a little ticky boom boom in the head, right? They all got something going on with them. But Chris Brown is a painter, he's a rapper, he's a dancer, he's an R&B artist, and I'm gonna call him a rapper, especially after this that he did Weakest Link towards Quavo. Because it was hard. Like I was like, well damn.
Right.
I was not expecting that out of Chris. The last time I saw Chris, there were no tattoos. He was about 18 years old. But since then he's evolved into a man and he's in his feelings. And yeah, he's gone through some things. The thing about this particular diss that makes it more personal is that Quavo quoted him putting hands on Riri and him putting hands on Karuchi. So it's kind of like, well, it warrants a further discussion, whether it be on wax or in person. I am deeply concerned about it being in person. I think that we all know that there is beef between all of them. Unlike the J. Cole Kendrick this feels a little bit different because this is real personal, right?
Very
now
personal.
You're talking about me based upon my past indiscretions, and when I say past, I mean involving two females, but you hooked up with one of them. But what I did was I got back at you and I hooked up with the chick that you was in love with when she was still your chick, right? So again, men are real sensitive, right? And I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier when you disagree with me, Sweetie and Karuchi, they kind of winning at the end of the day, because here you have two men beefing over two females that they're no longer even with. But the
let me ask you a question though. And let me ask you this. Let me just throw this in. Is it really about the women or is it about ego?
Because no, I think that the women are affecting their ego. The fact that Quavo hooked up with Karuchi caused Chris to do that diss record, and then Quavo did the diss record, and now here we are at the end of the day. But what makes this really upsetting, and I've been thinking about this all weekend, what is really upsetting to me is that this is more personal. Take the women aside, with Chris Brown saying, we all thought that you should have been dead, as opposed to Takeoff. That's real personal. But then Quavo came back and said, I got a bullet with your name on it. Okay, now, and then did the shots, pop, pop, pop. So what this does is it moves it into the streets. This is no longer on wax. And the only way that we were saved by them beefing or having a confrontation at the fashion show was that money was involved. But when I go to the club, Quavo was just performing, and the first thing that the crowd was like, F Chris Brown. Okay, so if me and you were to go to a club together, right?
Yeah.
I'm on Chris Brown's side, you on Quavo's side, or me and you together. Chris and Quavo are behind us. Let's say that, because we need to exit, right? Me and you need to be able to get out.
Right.
But if something go down between the two of them, it's people in the audience that are going to be on a different side. Some people are going to be for Chris, some people are going to be for Quavo, and all I'm doing is looking for the exit. In fact, I don't even want to go. How about that? Because I know automatically that something's going to pop off because there's feelings involved. And so with that said, I really want this to die down. This is not the same as the J. Cole Kendrick beef where we know that they're friends. These cats are not friends. And this is really personal, and I think that we should leave it where it is. I don't think that Chris needs to respond, but I will say that I do think that this was a little bit harder than Quavo.
It was, but here's the thing though. As you, again, going back to the maturity, hip hop is 50 years old. We have seen, and it's like now we're forced to repeat the same lessons because we haven't learned from the past. how words can escalate to shots being fired,
Right.
Or
Right.
how words can create a division. Like hip hop is supposed to bring people together.
It is.
Hip hop, this is the genre of music that, you know, other genres, but there's no like equalizing force like the power of good hip hop that brings people together, right? And so that's the concern I have. Taylor checked in. You said, has the show transitioned to entertainment gossip? No. This is not entertainment gossip. This is talking about where our culture has gone. This is not about, oh, who's sleeping with who. This is
how
about
it affects
understanding
us, right? Because it affects our children at the end of the day. Quavo was
that's
just
what
out
Nicole
of school.
Smith said.
Yeah,
Nicole Smith is saying the same thing. Children are listening to this.
Right.
So for those of us who are older in the culture, right, who understand the dynamics of the music and kind of been there from the beginning, it's important that we understand, like, to keep the reins on it. Yeah, the music can get competitive. The music is going to go back and forth. But at the end of the day, the music should not lead to death and murder.
Well,
it's just
you know
that
what?
simple.
We need a 2024 version of self-destruction. You know what I mean? Where all the hip hop artists came together. It's like self-destruction.
But here's the thing, though.
Self-destruction. We really do need that. We need peace in hip hop. We need peace in hip hop.
Here's the only thing then. Here's the only thing. Just as much as artists need to come together, as fans and consumers of the music, we should not be advocating and rallying for this type of rhetoric to go back and forth, right? Because we also can find ourselves complicit with this type of behavior and action. If something were to happen to Chris Brown or Quavo, and it could happen from somebody outside of the beef, if something were to happen, automatically everybody's going to get, man, we need to stop the violence.
Agreed.
We lost Tupac, we lost Biggie, we lost all these people, and we always talking about stopping the violence. But when this track comes out, man, what y'all going to do? What you going to do? What you going to do?
This is not the same temperature as ether.
Right.
This is not the same temperature as ether, period.
And you know why? And I truly believe this, Tasha. You know why? Because Jay-Z, it's not about money. They understood. Jay-Z and Nas, they both understood, like, look, we too old for this, man. Like, we can't, this thing, we just came out of the loss of Biggie and Tupac.
Yeah.
We don't need to be the next one. This ain't that deep. It ain't that deep. Whether it's you sleeping with who and all of that stuff, at the end of the day, hip hop should inspire, it should empower, and it should be the vehicle by which we are calling for the preservation of Black life and not for the removal of it. So it is, I hope it's resolved. But diss tracks, you can diss me lyrically, but if you gotta talk about my mother, my father, my baby mother, you talking about bullets and
my
I wish that I was dead.
Right.
It's not good for the culture. All right, Tasha Love, how can our folks follow you and check you out and see all the great work you're doing?
Well, they can find me on air with Tasha Love. That's Tasha with an O for originality, at Instagram.com or on Instagram. So Tasha on air with Tasha Love on Instagram. And then you could always follow me on the X platform, which is Tasha Love, Tasha Dime Peace Love at on the X platform. And then hopefully wherever you go, I heard, this is your last week. I'm a little bit upset about that, but wherever you go, I'm down.
I appreciate you. Tasha Love, Music Insider, thank you so much for joining me. I got to get out of here, got to wrap up, but I appreciate you, Tasha. Thank you so much. And
thank you to the crew. Thank you to the crew. Everybody's been amazing.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for being so good for the culture. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Thank you, Culture Crew, for joining us. Make sure y'all tune in for the couple of days as we continue to wrap things up and, more importantly, continue to talk about things within the culture. Go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com and also follow me on social media at The Real Farajii on IG. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong, stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here, only here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Stay tuned at 6 p.m. Roland Martin Unfiltered. It's coming right at you. Have a great evening. Peace.